Hi there, welcome to Illuminate, Lighting the Path to 5D Awakening, where we're going to share 22 transformational masterclasses for awakening and embodying your highest vibration. I'm Sasa, your host for this event, and I just am so excited that you're here. This is really going to be a powerful week of conversations filled with expertise, potent tips, and expansive ideas to support you in stepping into your full potential. And I know you're going to love the incredible content that each of our speakers will be sharing with you over the next few days. Before we dive in, though, I want you to come into this event with intention, with purpose. So I have a question for you to ask yourself, and that is, who do you want to be on the other side of this experience? Who are you stepping into? What are you creating in your life? And if you go in with this idea of knowing that answer to that question or having some general idea about that, it's going to help you be very mindful about where you put your time and energy, which with 22 talks, you may want to watch all of them, and you can get the lifetime access pass if you want to do that. If you can get through them all this week, that's great. But as you go through, you're going to probably want to focus your time and energy, and this will help you really, really hone in on what it is that you're trying to achieve out of this experience. And I want you to also ask yourself, what is it that you hope to receive? What is it that you're bringing in and embracing at this time of your life, okay? And I invite you to dive into the content that calls to you and moves you forward toward the version of yourself that you're creating now, okay? And here's the thing. I want you to say yes to the transformation that's waiting for you and be ready to take action to bring that evolution to life. Any summit or event is so much better if you take some time after the event to integrate and bring some of these new ideas into your life and take aligned action on them. So I hope that you will make some time and space after the event to integrate and figure out what you want to do next with what you've learned. So yes, I know that having 22 talks available can feel a little overwhelming. And here's my recommendation for you. Maybe carve out 1 to 2 hours a day for the next 6 days. Talks range from anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes. So you could probably get in 2 talks a day very easily if you put aside the time. And focus on the talks that each day that really excite you. And if you want to, again, soak up everything, but you don't have the time, consider getting the lifetime access pass so you can return to the content at your own pace. And just so you know, the pricing for lifetime access pass goes up over the course of the week, so you want to get it earlier to get the best pricing. So this is really meant to be a virtual retreat where you can level up in a big way, okay? And my sincere wish is that you leave this week feeling energized, inspired, and ready to take on the world. And, as I said, it takes some time to integrate and take action on everything you learn after the event. And during and after the event, I would love to stay connected to you. So come and join my online group called the Moongazer Circle and share anything you've learned and loved during this experience in that group. And in each day's email, you'll find the details to sign up for that group. It would really be a joy to hear from you and witness what's resonating for you. So with all that said, I just am so delighted to have you here and ready for you to get everything you want out of this experience, and I know that you will. So I want to dive into my topic, which is the quantum revolution. And I want to just let you know that all of the content that I'll be sharing here today has been directly channeled through my spirit guide, Higher Self Esme, along with a circle of guides who've gathered specifically for this event. Okay, so starting out, let's talk a little bit about the purpose behind the 5D expansion on Earth right now, because that is absolutely what this event is about. We're stepping into a new dynamic on the planet, and everything is organizing itself so that we can really just have a juicy, delicious life, okay? That is the goal and aim of the new Earth dynamic that is we are awakening into every single day. And it's real for us in this moment that we step into this kind of event. We are in the 5D together, okay? And we actually have the opportunity to step from lower vibrational realities like the 3D and the 4D into the 5D through our intention. So here's the deal. If you are feeling that that dimension is part of where you're stepping into, then let it be. Let this be the moment that you do that, okay? This is an activation. This is more than a talk. We're going to be in the midst of an activation during this talk, all right? So in order to really embrace the 5D, we have to really understand what we have embraced up until this point and how we've transitioned or transformed our ideas of reality to embrace the fifth dimensional aspect that is coming in right now. So, right now we are traveling from 2D, 3D, 4D realities into the 5D, into the 7D, actually. That is the next level that we're in the midst of co-creating together. And in the 2D, we're looking at power over dynamics. So that is struggle-based reality focused on someone telling you who you are and what you get to be. Okay, that is part of the 2D reality. And there's obviously positive aspects to any dimension that we go through. And also there's stuff that we've integrated fully and we're ready to expand into something new. Okay, so we've moved out of a reality of power over each other, power over ourselves. We can be a little tyrannical about who we allow ourselves to be. And we learn that from our culture. So we are in a really big shift right now. And the 3D is where we have learned that struggle is the means by which we grow. And that is an old dynamic. We are moving beyond the dynamic that says struggle is a necessity to grow. Okay, we're not going to say struggle doesn't happen and we don't grow as a result of how we transmute what happens in our life. But the 3D is actually kind of been creating a dynamic where we kind of go back and forward a lot between expansion and falling kind of, my guys are saying kind of falling face down after traumatic experiences. And that's kind of a dynamic that we thought worked to help us expand. And in the 5D, we're looking at a change that is really a remarkably profound change around our ideas of what it looks like to be a human being, to be incarnated, to step into who we truly are, because that is the aim of the 5D and the 7D. The 7D, we are who we are fully, and we live in the dynamic created from that knowing of knowing ourselves fully. And the 5D is where we start to realize that fully. So we're absolutely trying to navigate through layers of consciousness that are about old precepts for living, that the conditions by which reality operated, and that is evaporating as we move higher and higher frequency into the 4D and the 5D. So, we have kind of made a mass choice on the higher planes to move through layers of planetary evolution from the 2D to the 7D is what I'll specifically speak to right now. And there are things that we are learning along this path of healing that are helping us really embody our true self. Because that is part of the revolution of the quantum realm, is living in harmony with everything as your true self. So you get to be fully realized and expressed and seen and held as you in the 5D. And we have had to learn how to put ourselves first before we heal others. This is something I've received from Gaia, actually, is that we had to move out of the dynamic of healing others first before we fully healed ourselves. That was kind of an old pattern that we got into because we thought, well, I need to fix what's broken in the world and I have to be the one to do it. Well, that's fine, but if we're not healing ourselves first, we don't have the resources to actually do the work to help the planet heal. It has to come from the inside out. It has to come from within us and exude out of us. And it has a measure of influence on the world around us when we are in our frequency, when we are in our true self alignment. And we are also in a time of noticing the power of the individual within their universe, within their community even. So every person is very powerful, and we are coming to a point where that is the absolute, it's like we have this notion that if we don't realize our destiny, we're not going to have achieved what we came to college Earth to achieve, okay? So our guides in this container are suggesting that we are here to achieve our expression. And that leads to everything coming together, whatever that looks like. And that could be your destiny. But you have to step into your true awareness of how, embrace how powerful that you are in every way you can, so that you can enjoy the fruits of your, it's funny, they're saying you're like emotional labor. So we work hard on the physical plane to realize certain things and to learn and to grow. And it happens to be the fact that if you grow into this idea of you being fully expressed, then you will actually realize your true self direction. Okay, so as opposed to talking about it as destiny, we're going to talk about it as your true self direction. And there is a power in reality from people who are awake, like you, to come in and have the say over what happens on Gaia, how things evolve, how things are transmuted, how things are transformed. And every enlightened individual brings in new ideas that create reality. Okay, so that is the power of us being here and raising our frequency and working toward enlightenment together. Is it creates a dynamic on Earth where things are more holistic. We are in a wholeness picture. We're looking at wholeness. We're not looking at what's broken. We're looking at what is ready to be brought into the light. Okay, so it is absolutely a time where we need to really go into our power and recognize the power that we have in our life and in the world around us, and especially in our personal sphere, in our community, in our, my guides keep wanting to call it our universe. Your universe is unique and it touches everyone else's universe. And yes, we have a collective universe, obviously, but you have your own place of influence and power. And the thing that we need most of all in the times that are brought to us now is to find a way to live joyfully through everything and experience joy in the process of us unfolding and developing and growing. And it is a very kind of anti-establishment move to step into your power and your decision to be in your joy as much as you possibly can under the circumstances, okay? So that is a funny thing, that joy is the kind of the guiding energy for the 5D. And when we step into a joyful place, the 5D starts to, it gets like its magic starts to oomph up, okay? You start to get more mojo coming through. And I think that knowing yourself is a really revolutionary act, okay? And it is the power move of the current time in human evolution. That joyful abandon to who you really are is absolutely the power move that you can embrace right now to fully step into your highest consciousness, okay? And, I feel like when we're looking at what's manifested in our culture, in our global experience, the need to connect with our deeper essence to kind of calm the waters of the difficulties we see in the world around us is imperative. And it's mostly imperative for us so that we can navigate the playing field from a grounded, centered, serene place. And that will help us so much in the times that are brought to us right now, in the land of the living that we have before us, okay? So, the 5D is working on the concept of peace and peaceful resolution and serenity. That is another thing the 5D is holding space for. And, that is the peaceful resolution is the perfect method for engagement at this particular time. And when we find a place in our heart for joyful abandon, we actually open the gateway for more peaceful resolution to occur. Okay. And here's the thing. I want you to know that when you step into the 5D, you're absolutely stepping into the quantum realm. That is where the quantum is more apparent for us. And, the quantum world responds strongly to joy and can support you in feeling more joy if you put out the request and allow it. So, we tend to think of manifestation being about situations that we might observe into reality, or new ideas or new things coming into our life, new people coming into our life. And that's all great. And we can also manifest emotional conditions like joy. We can choose that we want to be more joyful and then manifest a reality to support that. So go ahead, if you feel called, and put out the call for joy. Say, universe, I want more joy. And I am open to receiving that, however, is in the highest good alignment for myself and others. Okay? So that is something that you can do that will shift the reality around you in massive it's funny, my guys are even saying massive quantities, which is interesting. I think it's suggesting that things will come to you in alignment with that. So actual physical manifestations in alignment with joy. So I want to talk a little bit here before we dive in deeper about the karmic attachments that we have in the 3D, okay? So in the 5D, that quantum 5D realm is actually free of karmic attachments. The karmic ties to our old dimensional existence. And, it's funny because we tend to identify the idea of karma as being something that heals old ideas and old ways of being that we needed to move out of and we needed to transmute, okay? And it's interesting that we have the opportunity in the quantum world to experience understanding in a kind of magical way, in a way that goes beyond actually having to live something out to comprehend. We have a comprehension that arrives within us. So the karma that allows us to find a new way of looking at something isn't going to work as well in the 5D. And in the 3D, we move through samsara into freedom of consciousness and into the 4D, which is a transition point to the 5D we're realizing now. So we're moving out of samsara into freedom of consciousness. And, when you find yourself in the free will arena of the 5D, it's going to require new thinking about our relationship with Earth and each other. And we often put ourselves at odds with other people or other energies. We know that this is me, this isn't me, right? And in the 5D, there's no diametrically opposed positions. Only conscious realization of our connection to each other will help us move things over the discord that we see in the world at large. So the karmic tie isn't the pathway in the 5D to realization of our wholeness. It is actually kind of something that comes through self-acknowledgement and understanding and diving deep into your own beautiful inner landscape, okay? And of course, karma is kind of about learning what others see. It's not really about punishment. And we do move into karma often to develop compassion and heal the mind of otherness pictures. That is actually the key ingredient of karma, is to heal otherness, to remember our oneness, okay? And honestly, releasing karma even though it has done what it has done for us over the time of our growth in our expansion as souls, releasing karma is part of our path to enlightenment with an eye toward the 7D, where the new earth truly emerges. And, I want to say that we are not just in 5D now, we are moving into the 7D as I speak these words. Okay. So again, that karmic tie doesn't necessarily launch us into a new territory. It is a waning notion. Okay. And of course, there is that sense of when you release samsara, then you are enlightened, and then you perhaps don't reincarnate anymore. Okay. And that is a thing that definitely happens, and that is the goal. That is the expansion. That is the awareness that we are moving into as we step further and further down the path. So, kind of talking about the idea of Dharma, bringing that in a little bit, finalizing our picture of Dharma versus karma is the notion of the 9th dimension, allowing the perspective to move out of the highest vibrational reality into our daily lives as dharmic expansion, basically the expression of our deepest soul passion, and moving beyond karma, where we repeat lessons until they're absorbed fully. Okay, so we're moving out of that kind of hamster wheel, as that can happen sometimes, where you feel like you're reliving something over and over again, and you're like, I must have had a life where I really didn't pick up this lesson, and it keeps reappearing in my life right now. That karmic tie can be, it can move over time and shift as you step into the 5D. And the reason my guides want us to talk about karma as it's related to the 5th and 7th dimension is because the need to hold on to karma has kind of made it it's like a choice that we are growing out of. And they want to highlight that for us, okay? So, the direction that we're moving in is knowing the true nature of your higher awareness in form. And that is you living every day as if your higher self were inside you to be and witness life as you, okay? I always talk about it from that standpoint of my higher self is here now to live life as me. It's not necessarily something out there. It's something coming in here, okay? It's not just something I talk to. It wants to be me and live life as me. And that kind of power is going to help us move higher and higher into higher frequencies. That stepping into our true self from all lifetimes is going to absolutely change the power dynamic for us in our lives, and it will shift the reality around us, okay? So power from within versus power over is the new paradigm of the coming era. And we're observing the friction of the past era coming to its thorny, slow end as we watch power over dynamics fight to hold on in the current climate in many parts of the world. That is certainly something that's happening. And the coming era is a powerful awakening of what will be about, my guys are saying, about 50% of humanity moving from the sleepy 3D world into the 7D world to come, okay? So that brings us back to the quantum revolution. That is the 5D and up reality. And power from within is the dynamic that creation in the 5D is based upon. And here's the thing, you do not need a permission slip from the outside to access this, okay? You follow your divine will as guided by your higher self in this layer. You listen to the natural impulses that you have, you tune into what your body is telling you, you witness that, and you observe it, and you take into account what your knowing is bringing in. And remember that your body has wisdom. I always like to say body is God. Body is source. We tend to think of it as just a vessel that we inhabit, and it is alive and awake and wise, and has offered me so much information over the time that I've been in my awakening. I have come to the knowing that my body is smart and very wise about how to lead me in the right direction, okay? That's why I'm a fan of resting, because my body will tell me to rest, and every time I rest, I always have more energy to, not just because I rested, but it's kind of like I springboard forward with rest. I hear the body's call for rest, and I integrated that fully into my life, and has totally transformed the way I live and how I produce. Okay. So, the more that let me go back a little bit. So our natural instincts are guiding us towards wholeness and self-expression. Okay. And a self-expressed world is one in alignment with the divine principles of creation. And the more you step into this terrain, the more power you have to create in the 5D. And I want to talk a little bit about creating a life that you love, creating a life from that standpoint of you finding what is in alignment for you, okay? So I talk about this as creating a pleasurable life. And I spent years cultivating a pleasurable life with work following along with my own impulses. So listening to what my impulses said and going in that direction, even if it looked crazy. Sometimes you look a little kooky when you're doing stuff, at least to yourself. Most of the time, other people are like, yeah, okay, that made sense. But to you, you might feel a little out on the limb trying to do something. But I knew that if I didn't do what I wanted to do in life, I would shrivel up. I couldn't handle it. I had hit the point where my life had to go in a direction that felt aligned for me. It couldn't be any other way. Okay. I grew and shifted my business a couple of times as I tuned into my own alignment. And I was actually, kind of in the need to pivot my work in 2019, especially. And I wanted to pivot back into my joy. And I was trying to figure out what that looked like. And that's when Gaia showed up to support me with my Kundalini awakening experience in the beginning of 2020. I had a profound shift in my energy as a result of my awakening, and my gifts opened up, and a new pathway for creation opened up for me as a result of that. So my clairvoyant abilities grew. I was definitely a medium at this point. I could hear, specifically one of my guides come through who had passed on, who was an ascended master who had passed on, David Bowie. Which if you're in one of my programs, then you will hear all about that. I stepped into mediumistic art and channeling. So all of my work is now channeled. Everything I do is channeled and received. And then I started hearing and seeing new guides and angels. So, I didn't just have those sorts of things happen. I was experiencing a lot of miracles starting to come into my life. And I'm no stranger to synchronicity and massive amounts of synchronicity, and this went on a whole other level. Okay, so my body healed of some chronic conditions. Food tasted better. I could sense, that's just a fun little one. I could sense into Gaia more, and the love of Earth and the love of the plants and animals, and just feeling the beating heart of Gaia everywhere I went. But it got even bigger than that, okay? So I had this beautiful story that I love telling, where I was on a walk with a friend trying to show her some miracles that I would see in nature, some magic that I would see in nature. And we walked for an hour and a half, and she was walking me back to her car, and she sticks her hand in her pocket and pulls an apple out and goes, "Where did this come from?" So there is no way that she would have spent an hour and a half walking and not have noticed an apple sitting in her pocket, okay? And she probably would have remembered putting it in there in the morning in the first place. So that was absolutely divine. And I said to my guys, I said, how did that happen? They said, your higher self did it. I said, okay, if you say so. And we had a good laugh about it. It was pretty amazing. But I also had stuff like food appearing on my plate. Like I would have a little bit of carrots. I'd look away, I'd look back, and there were a whole bunch of carrots on my plate. Or I had this thing where I cut up an onion. I cut it in 2 even halves, and I chopped up the onion. I have no idea why I did it exactly this way, but I chopped up the onion in 2 halves on my cutting board. And the second pile of onions was almost twice the size of the first pile after I'd finished cutting it, okay? And that's happened to me a lot. And I've heard people tell me stories about food multiplying for them too. So this is actually a thing that happens. I would be surprised if it happens to you now. Something about telling stories. And, even time would shift before my eyes with the Mandela effect happening over again. Time, objects changing their appearance. I had a knob on a bidet at a B&B. It was white, and I was so amazed that they had a bidet, so I took note of it. I was super excited, and then the next day, the knob was black. So that's not the first time something has changed on me. I've had clothing change. I had a pair of shoes that had interlocking circular pattern on the bottom of the shoes, and that's part of why I picked them out. I loved the sole of the shoes. And then while I was staring at it, it changed from circles to letters and numbers. It changed dramatically, and I was just totally blown away. And I've seen other things where people talked about someone who had passed away in their life and how they had been dealing with that for the last year, and then after 15 minutes started talking about how they were on the phone with them last week, and their timeline just totally changed right in front of my eyes. Okay, so I'm a witness to the pure magic and power of the earth, a quantum earth. I want to paint the picture for how magical this 5D and 7D reality, these realities are. Okay, and the thing about the quantum earth is that everything in that earth responds to you following your own natural flow and rhythm. And that's why I wanted to talk about my experience, because what I had done over time is learn to follow my rhythm more and more and more. And in fact, when I was feeling a struggle with my work, it was because I was being called to be more of a healer, and I wasn't jumping totally down that path. And things were not quite clicking and working in my life. And one of the things that I did actually was I was so distraught and didn't know how to fix things in my life. So I would just kneel on the ground and put my head on the ground and bow to Gaia and just say, I release everything to Gaia. And then I did, and here I am. So that happened in 2019, and then 2020 is when my guides started, my gifts started going on overload, and my guides, new guides showed up in my life. So, I want to speak to the fact that, I, as a result of these changes and following my flow, I have a lot more energy and stamina than I had since I was young, and I achieve a tremendous amount all in flow. Okay, and I could talk a lot about flow. That's a whole other topic. Quantum flow is my term for the kind of organization of the universe on just this high vibrational place where things just line up, okay, in amazing ways, incredible ways that just are beyond belief. And here's the thing, we are embracing this magic. We are creating this paradigm right now. You are here to not just learn what you need to learn to own your power, to step into your light, to be more of yourself, okay? You are actually creating the new reality by being here. This is what part of the agenda is for this event, is for us to do that. We don't have to do anything but grow ourselves, but you put that intention out there and it matters, okay? And here's the thing, this magic that we're talking about is trickling out into the world. And it comes through us and through our own personal choices and the things that we decide to do in our lives. And you become magnetic. You become influential, okay? And here's the thing that I want to suggest that you do. Adopt the attitude of, not just in your life, but in the world at large, this will come to pass no matter what, especially in our communities, and see this expansion realized in the flow of time, okay? So we're looking at the things that we don't like, and we're going, okay, but we are going to change the world. It will happen, and I've chosen that reality, and that's my highest timeline. I'm stepping into it right now. And I'm inviting everyone here to just step into that timeline. And you will see the ripple effect through your own life. And that's where it starts. It starts here with us, okay? And, another thing that my guides want to say is that we're coming into a powerful recognition of how much we need each other in order to find the next reality of this planet we call home. This is part of the community piece and why I created the Moon Gazer Circle, so that we can all communicate, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but we can stay connected there during the event. And I want to hear what you have to say and what's lighting up for you, okay? And, this coming together and finding purpose together is the purpose of the conference too. It's to find connection with each other, to discover new avenues for our expression of truth, and become closer to the true self that we are meant to live here and now. Okay? And of course, the final reason for us gathering in this event is to find joy in the journey. That is what my greatest hope for you is, that you come away lit up, excited, and ready to create new things in your life. Okay? Alrighty, so before I go, I want to share a bit about my free gift with you. So I'm super excited to offer these. I have a Magnify Your Vision session that I'm offering for a few select people. So until the end of the retreat on April 12th, you can, I'll probably extend it through April 13th. You can apply for a possibility of winning a free Magnify Your Vision session with me. And I'm going to choose 10 people who I feel will benefit the most from the time. And, you know, these are really sumptuous, delicious, life-changing calls. We will go into whatever's coming up for you right now and find the perfect nugget of wisdom for you to take away so that you can feel greater expansion in your life. And you will find clarity and you will get a healing. And I can't tell you how many times I've experienced quantum healing moments in these sessions. So they are really powerful, and I really hope that you will take the time to register to see if you can receive one of these calls, okay? And if you're chosen, I will contact you within the week after the event so you can schedule your time. And the opportunity for this can be found below this video. So go ahead and sign up there, all right? And again, these are highly transformational. I hope you will sign up, all right? And that's just about it. So really grateful for you joining this adventure. Don't forget to join the Moon Gazer Circle. You can stay connected during the event and meet other light workers and seekers like yourself who are on the path. And it is a beautiful place to discuss the talks too and anything that resonated for you. And tell your story. We'd love to hear from you. Go introduce yourself. I would love to meet you there. And this is just going to be an amazing time. I am really, really stoked for this event. All the speakers who've joined us are incredible, brilliant and wise and full of insights that are going to knock your socks off. So do make sure that you tag the ones that you most want to go to and make sure you make them, because they're all available for 48 hours after they go live. So you have 2 days to check them out before you have to get the lifetime access pass to get access again. Okay? And here's the thing. Your soul called you here for a reason, so trust in your intuition and enjoy the journey through this incredible week, because there's so much that you're going to find that is going to give you a new direction in life, I think. For many of you, you're going to find that this has elevated you to a new frequency and you're ready to take on the world. All right. All right. That's it. Looking forward to sharing all these amazing talks with you, and gonna see you soon in the next talk. Take care.